All right, here we are. It's a lovely evening here in San Antonio. I thought I'd sit outside. It's about here. That's not the best camera angle. That's nicer. It's a lovely house back there. This is chapter. There's about numbers on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chapter 5. I have to re-record. I'm gonna have to re-record the whole thing because the mic went out last time. So I'll be recording this in slight chunks just to check the mic's working. The forged doctor's notes were presented to Eason's and Tesco, and Jackie and Peter arranged the days with Thompson. They met Thompson at Dublin Airport, who had their tickets ready. It was an early flight into Paris and a short one. Will we have time to hang out there in Paris, Colonel? I'm afraid not. Perhaps afterwards. The operation is scheduled in a few hours. The taxi journey from the airport took over an hour until they finally pulled up to a house. Is this where the cyborgs are made, Colonel? Asked Peter. Jackie elbowed him, while rolling her eyes towards the taxi driver. Thompson paid the fare and they got out of the car. The driver handed them their luggage and they approached the house. Once inside the house, they were greeted by a young man. This is Maurice's house, said Thompson. You are very welcome here, said Maurice. He's pretty French, right? You are very welcome here. Please follow me. They followed Maurice down a flight of stairs into a sub-level. They walked into an area that must have been the size of a living room that was equipped with a full surgical theatre. Please change into this, said Maurice, and he handed him a surgical gown. The toilet is that way. You can change there. We'll wait upstairs, said Jackie as she and Thompson turned to leave. Hey, give us a hug in case I don't see you again. You'll be fine, Dad. Peter changed and came back and lay down. Maurice placed an intravenous needle in his arm. This will keep you hydrated, Mr. Casey. We will then apply a general anesthetic. You should be out momentarily, and when you are back, the chip will be in place in the parietal lobe. The what? Don't concern yourself with it, Mr. Casey. I take it you have fasted? Was I supposed to? I had a donut in the airport about an hour ago. Maurice dropped his hands to his side. Sure, I'm just messing with you, Maurice. Now, who needs to relax? Yeah, yesterday evening was the last meal I had. Well, this seems a bit more complicated than I thought it would be, said Peter, looking around anxiously around the room. Hey, Maurice, is that a drill? Relax, Mr. Casey, I know what I'm doing, said Maurice as he administered the anesthetic. Peter could feel a sensation in his arm moving up towards his chest and up towards his head. All went dark. Peter was standing in line. The creamy smell filling the air was interrupted by the evening July breeze that came through the shop. The sound of tires screeching and the people's screams made him suddenly turn around. Mr. Casey, a friendly sounding voice said, Mr. Casey? It must be the police, he thought. He woke, his body drenched with sweat, his head groggy. Mr. Casey, how are you feeling? Said Maurice. Fucking anesthetic, said Peter. He sat up, realizing he was dreaming and had come out of the operation. I'm okay, I suppose. Please be in no rush, sir. The operation went well, and you seem fine. Please take your time and rest up, and get up when you feel all right. Sorry. Peter lay back down and fell asleep again for about an hour. He woke up and felt better. He stood up and went back to the toilet to change. He could hear voices from upstairs. It was Jackie's voice. Upon arriving upstairs in the kitchen, Maurice offered him a cup of tea. Maurice placed the tea in front of him. That might be the best cup of tea I've had in a long time, said Peter. I assumed the French tea wouldn't come close. We cheated, Mr. Casey, said Maurice. Your daughter brought Irish tea bags with her and gave me some. That's me girl, Jackie. I expected a bigger facility, Colonel, said Peter as he looked around. This is quite small. Oh, why is someone calling me? No offense, Maurice. None taken. A large complex would just bring more visibility, Thompson responded. Our operation is a sequence of small basement-type buildings like this spread across the city and other parts of Europe. It is not the most economical way of doing business, but it keeps us hidden. These basements were created during the wars and some in more modern times by fearful Cold War era French families. We've been offering large sums of money to such families to purchase their homes. We've been concerned that people will wonder why someone would want to pay so much for their houses with basements? Won't they suspect that a large organization is behind all the purchases? No, because they are each paid for by individuals waiting for the working for the ECPU, but all sales show individuals purchasing them. Currently, this facility is the only one where the chip is installed in the donor. In other facilities, we create the agents, and in others, we train them. This one is just big enough for the operation and some bedrooms for recovery. That's quite a network you have set up there, said Peter. Tomorrow, after you have rested, we will test out the chip with the underframe of your agent. His skin is not yet ready. We will travel to another house for that. Speaking of bedrooms for recovery, the sun is low in the sky now. You will be wanting some dinner and stay overnight, said Maurice. In a French accent. I don't know, it was Maurice talking till now. Looking briefly at the Caseys while he grabbed a bottle of red wine and began searching drawers for the bottle opener. Peter could tell it was not a question. I'll head back into the city, Maurice. You will be comfortable here. I will see you in the morning, said Thompson. And with that, he was gone. The following morning... There's a lovely moon back there. You can't see it, though. The following morning, Peter and Jackie bid farewell to Maurice and headed to another house across town where Peter's assigned agent would be ready to test with Peter's newly installed chip. Maurice drove them to the house where Thompson was already waiting. Peter entered the house and sat down in front of a large screen. Mr. Casey, please just read the words on the screen out loud and slowly, said the technician. My name is Peter Casey, said Peter. As soon as Peter said these words, a small black screen appeared in front of him, and yet not physically in the room. He instinctually waved his hand to touch it, but to no avail. He moved his head to the left, but the screen shifted to the center of his vision. He kept his head still, shifting his eyes left and right, up and down, but the screen remained the center of his vision. This is weird, said Peter. Takes getting used to, said the technician. It defaults in size and position, but you can adjust it. Repeat after me, Mr. Casey. Adjust screen. Adjust screen. The red dotted line appeared on the outer edges. A red dotted line appeared on the outer edges of the screen. Now look in the center of the screen and blink twice and then move your eye around. Peter did so and the screen moved around. Blink twice again and move your eyes. Peter obeyed his command and the screen unanchored from his eyes and remained in place. Your eyes and eyelids are acting like a computer mouse, the technician informed him. Now give the command again to adjust screen, but this time do not say it out loud, just think it. Once you have done so, I want you to double blink right on the edge of the screen. Peter did so, but this time his eye movement adjusted the actual size of the screen. Most people prefer to have the screen off to the side so they can focus on the other things, but we'll bring it forward if they need to focus more. It's a lot to remember. I'm going to be walking around looking like a blinking gobshite all the time, said Peter. It will be initially cumbersome to adjust, but you will move quicker as you get used to it. Now lastly, Mr. Casey, repeat the word or say in your mind, adjust opaque, and after doing so, look up and down on the screen. Peter repeated the orders, and as he did, the solid black screen changed so that he could see through it. He moved his eyes back down and the full black screen returned. Very snazzy. One last thing I forgot. Close your eyes fully. Peter did so. I don't see anything. Am I supposed to? Oh, sorry, said the technician. He sat back down at the computer, looking embarrassed in front of Thompson. You can open your eyes again. Have you ever been to Times Square, Mr. Casey? Never. Now, the screen in front of him showed a video from Times Square. I see it now, boss, said Peter. Now close your eyes again. Peter did so, and the small picture now enveloped into a full virtual reality experience. Peter looked all around him and believed for a moment he was physically in Times Square. He opened his eyes and the small screen of Times Square sat to the top right of his visuals, just where he left it. The rest of his view showed Thompson, Jackie and the technician in Paris, in the basement. What the fuck? He said. They laughed, even Thompson. Peter closed his eyes tightly again and was transported back to Times Square. He could see the full landscape around him and hear the noises of people and vehicles. Every time he opened his eyes, he was back in the basement where he never physically left. Dude, I've done virtual reality before, but nothing like this. Is this an agent in New York I'm seeing through? No, sir, said the technician. We have no agents in the United States. This is just a VR program I created based off of some video I took in the middle of Times Square on my holidays. Feel free to walk around a bit, but don't go too far. Times Square is big, but our room is small. Peter took a few steps in different directions. People did not avoid him, but just walked right through him. He looked at the blue sky, the tall buildings, the billboards. He couldn't believe how real everything looked and could not believe how easy it was to be transported back and forth between a bustling city and a dark Parisian basement. The urban canyon produced a cool evening breeze that disappeared as soon as he opened his eyes. Once you take full control of your agent, your experience will be even more lifelike, as you will experience what your mobile agent experiences in real time. What you see now is limited by a recording of a film that remained in one spot in Times Square. If you were to move out of range of what my camera recorded, you would be in a blank space. And now for our final test. Repeat after me. Agent 13, come online. Peter responded, and now his screen changed to what looked like a small storage room. The camera on whatever Peter was controlling was sitting about 6 feet off the ground. What appeared on Peter's screen was also being presented on the technician's computer. Now I need you to think about walking, Mr. Casey, but don't move. I want you to move towards the door of your room and open the door. It opens inwards, but you will figure that out. Peter did so and could feel the cold doorknob in his hand. I can feel the knob. Good. As the door opened inwards on the screen, another door in the room opened outwards. Peter closed the door suddenly, and the door of the room did likewise. I think I know what's going to happen now, Peter said with excitement. He reopened the door fully and could now see himself, Thompson and Jackie on his internal screen. He looked to his right and saw through the open door a large, ominous object. Peter took a step back. Fuck, it looks like one of those creatures from that 80s movie, They Live. This is just the undercarriage, if you will. It's quite raw and very close to our early iteration, said Thompson. You'll notice, though, that this one has the fluid movements of a human. It only lacks a synthetic flesh covering. Peter clenched his eyes and had the machine walk around the room. He then opened his eyes to witness the fluid movements Thompson attested to. Wow, it's amazing. How did you ever get it to move so human-like, Colonel? With much money, technology, and brains, the technician chimed in. Peter walked the machine over to his cup and had the robot pick it up and slowly put it down. He could feel the cup in his hand. The technician had Casey go through a set of moves no different from the stretching routine, while he made check marks on a punch list. On his final check, he nodded at Thompson. That's probably enough for today, Mr. Casey, said Thompson. That seems to have captured all we need. We can finish your training in Irish Town with a simulator, and we will finish up the agents in the coming weeks. Peter shut down the agent but asked to examine him closely. The raw agent was about 6 feet tall, slightly taller than Peter. The skeleton of the agent was covered in a dark rubber-like substance which completely covered its joints so that Peter was unable to fully see the complexity of the inner workings. The underframe is created using 3D technology using a very durable substance, said the technician. Much of the movement structures, what would be the muscle and ligaments in a human, is exaggerated inside so that it matches a human muscular system. But if functionality alone was our goal, the agent would look extremely gaunt. We can build a very durable frame and movement system with no bulk needed. The head of the agent was a black metallic material with a jaw structure and what looked like the beginning of a nose. Whitish, slightly yellow teeth had been installed, but no tongue, lips, or gums. There were white eyeballs, but where the iris would normally appear, there was what Peter assumed the tip of a micro camera. We still need to place the iris cap on the agent's eyes and also finish out the facial structure, mouth, nose, and overall skin, said the technician. As Peter touched the robot, the head had the same feeling he would get when he touched his wife's nail file. The outer body was very rough and sticky to the touch. The surface needs to be like this so that the outer synthetic skin holds in place. I think that should suffice for now. Let's return to the hotel, rest up, and I will buy dinner tonight, said Thompson. They returned to the hotel. Peter opened the window to let in some fresh air and laid on the bed. He fell into a deep sleep. She looked stunning in her dress. He had bought it for her the previous day. Hard to believe it's been 25 years, Pete. I'd do it all over again, Shell. The fireworks were beautiful, weren't they, Pete? Brilliant. Can I get you an ice cream? Nah, I'm fine, love. You go on and get yourself one. Look, there's a shop over there. You don't think I already scoped it out? She shook her head and grinned. I'll skip it. I don't need it anyway. Go on, Pete. You're on holidays. Treat yourself. You work hard. All right, Shell. I'll be right back. Peter woke suddenly to the sound of the phone. We're downstairs. Where are you? Oh, sorry, love. I fell asleep. Hurry up. Peter threw on his shoes with no regard for how to dress for dinner and was in the lobby in a few minutes. Thompson hailed a taxi and they arrived at the restaurant in Paris. Jackie woke the next morning to the following text from Peter. Hey, do you want to go to Champs Ulysses? Do you think they named it after James Joyce, Dad? It's Ulysses. Whatever, Marcel. You know what I mean. Come on. We don't have much time. It's spelt no, K-N-O-W. It's a funnier section when you read it instead of hear it because of the spelling of stuff. Whatever the fuck, Shakespeare. Let's go. Meet you downstairs in 15. 30, Dad. I just woke up and I'm a girl. 25. No response. The morning was crisp and the Parisians were moving faster now that the work week was upon them. Peter and Jackie sat outside a cafe waiting for their espressos. Dad, it's pronounced espresso, not espresso. Is that why that bollocks gave me a funny look? He gives a shite anyway, espresso. He'll bring me the same thing in anyway, unless he gets upset and shoots a greener into it. How are you feeling, Dad? Peter, feeling the healing wound on his head. Not too bad. I don't mean that, Dad. You're not yourself. Peter looked past Jackie for a moment. I dreamt about it yesterday and during the operation, and then again yesterday afternoon. I hadn't in a while, but I suppose being back in France and all. Peter looked the opposite way and then back towards Jackie. A flash of anger crossed his face. If I only hadn't gone for that fucking ice cream. She didn't even want one, but this fat fuck wanted one. He paused. His eyes started to get moist. Dad, stop torturing yourself. You don't know if you could have changed anything had you stayed. Maybe you'd both be dead had you stayed. That wouldn't have been so bad. What about me? I still have you, Dad. He reached over to grab her hand. It was an unusual move for him. The funeral may have been the last time he did so. Thanks, love, he said. The espressos were delivered. Peter inspected his closely. Is everything okay, sir? Asked the waiter. Yeah, no problem, boss. Just examining the colour of my espresso, he said with a wink. The waiter looked at Peter with disdain and walked away. Jackie's phone rang. Okay, we're not far. We'll head back, she said. She hung up the phone. It's Thompson. He wants to get going. Sure, the flight is hours away. What's his hurry? It's his way, Dad. He sounds like me old one, said Peter. Let him wait a few minutes and we'll finish our drinks. How often do we get a chance to do this? That's the end of that chapter. My next chapter is one of my favorites, but one of the shortest. It's very short. One of my favorites because it's a dialogue between four lads in a pub. And I enjoy it when I read it, so I'll have that coming up next. Thanks for listening, and hope you're enjoying your time before Christmas. It is now December 14th, Monday. Is it Monday? The 16th? I don't know. 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, the 16th maybe. Hope you're getting your shopping done and you're getting in the Christmas spirit. And I'll talk to you soon.